Awesome. Thank you all so much. Thank you to those of you joining me in person in air quotes. I know we are all virtual, but thank you for joining me here and now. Thank you also to those of you watching the recording. I know some of you registered and could not make the time, but that's what the recording is for. So you don't have to worry about that. So if you are not familiar with what the heck it is you are attending/watching, it is what you need to know about AI writing tools. This is one of those questions that I get over and over and over. I think I got it at least twice to like just this morning, like within a couple hours of each other, people asking me, what about AI writing tools and how is that affecting your business? So I decided to practice what I preach and actually talk about how it's affecting my business so that you guys, so that I don't have to answer the same question over and over again, hopefully. So that in mind, let's start off with who am I? Why the heck should you care about what I have to say? I am not an AI person. Never thought of myself as a tech person, actually. So it's very surprising to me that I now work in SEO and marketing strategy. But I initially majored in English and psychology. So I got into this on the writing side. Found myself between jobs at one point when I was just answering phones. It was, one of those jobless recovery type jobs where it was something to kind of sort of pay the bills. And ended up between jobs at one point. And my roommate at the time, her dad, who was an attorney, was awesome and offered to give me stuff to do around his office until I got back on my feet. And one of the things he needed was someone to write blog posts for his law firm. And he knew I had a strong writing background, so he offered me the gig. And I was like, what? I can get paid to write? Seriously? Yeah, sign me up. So I jumped at that chance and started writing for him and then for an associate of his and then for some friends of mine. And it just kept growing from there. So much to my surprise, I found myself an entrepreneur, which is not something I ever thought I would be. And if you had told me that I would need to learn SEO and marketing strategy in order to continue this career, I would have been too intimidated to even try. Fortunately, no one told me that, and I just kind of stumbled my way into it and ended up also stumbling my way into SEO and marketing strategy. So that is going to come up later because in this presentation, because there are people who use AI tools the right way, the wrong way. Sometimes they try to use it as an SEO tool when that's not what it was meant for, but we will cover that a little bit later. So first and foremost, why should I care about AI writing tools? It does impact your SEO. It does impact your thought leadership, and it does impact your ability to convert leads. Not to mention the fact that everyone is talking about AI. So again, yes, AI is growing. Yes, we need to know what its capabilities are, but I also think it's really important to know what its capabilities are not and when it makes sense to use it and when it makes sense not to use it and how to use it and how not to use it. I was actually talking to listening to a podcast not too long ago where someone was talking about the fact that computers are really good at like data gathering and analyzing information and creating summaries, and like that's what it's really good at. It's not really good at content creation. It's not good at artwork. But people play around with these tools and they see a bunch of text generated, and it gets, I think it captures our imagination in a way that the boring data analysis stuff really doesn't. So that's why we need to worry about, well, not worry, but why we should care about AI. Choices of writing tools, obviously ChatGPT is the one that gets all of the attention lately. It is far from the only one. When I say embedded AI at the top, I mean things like in your email, especially if you use Gmail, it will autofill stuff for you. Anytime you go into Google and search something in the search bar, it autofills for you. My Word document autofills stuff for me all the time, which like 98% of the time, I love it. I love that I can hit tab and finish a word or 3 or 4 words in a row and just keep going. Makes my life so much easier. Every once in a while, this happened just the other day. I can't remember what I was writing, but the thing it suggested was so off base. It's like, it was hilarious. I was like, where did you even come up with that? So that is a huge thing to know about AI, is that, yeah, it's great when it works, but it is not foolproof. So at the very least, you need to double check its work. Jasper is another one that's been around for a while. Hypotenuse AI, both of those have been around longer than ChatGPT. I was frustrated. I haven't tried Jasper. I've heard good things about it. I tried Hypotenuse AI previous to ChatGPT, so this was a few years ago. I was really frustrated that it asked me for keywords for a particular topic, and I put in the keywords, and the topics that it generated for me, it gave me a few different options, which is great. None of them actually used the keyword that I gave it. So I was like, why did you ask for the keyword if you're not going to use the keyword I gave you? And it would be one thing. So it generated it kind of like morphed the keyword or phrase for me because it was a few words long. It was more of a long tail keyword. And so I went and took that to my SEO keyword research tool just to make sure, like, well, maybe this is a better keyword and I just don't realize it. It was not. It was a terrible keyword. I had done my research. I knew the keyword I wanted to use. It would not use it for me. That was really frustrating. Gemini, you may or may not have heard, is the new Bard. So that's Google's AI tool. So those are not all of your options, but some of your options, probably some of the more well-known options. All right, let's get into how AI works, because this is one of those things that really frustrates me about people not understanding how it works and why it can be problematic. I always use the generative part of generative AI in air quotes, or in this case, literal quotes, because it doesn't generate anything. It just scrapes the internet for existing content and repurposes it for you and goes, here, is this what you were looking for? And you can tell it yes or no. But at the end of the day, that's essentially how it's working. It's taking existing content and it's not coming up with anything new. It is certainly not going to replace your thought leadership. So don't try to make it replace your thought leadership, because that is not the best use of AI. So that's my big concern with AI is, first of all, as we all know, there's a lot of wrong information on the internet and jokes. That's another thing that we've seen is AI taking things that were meant as a joke and trying to regurgitate it for us as actual information. Like, here's the answer to your question. No, that's not the answer to my question. That's a ridiculous answer. What made you think that? It's because it saw it somewhere, but it was a joke. And humans can figure out the context and say, okay, well, this is not a serious answer. Robots can't do that. Robots can't look at something and go, oh, this is wrong, obviously, because they don't have the same context that we have. So at the very least, fact check the stuff that any AI tool gives you. We've all seen at this point examples where people don't fact check it and they turn stuff in and they publish stuff and people go, no, actually, that's not a thing. And they look like idiots because they didn't bother to fact check what ChatGPT or Jasper or Hypotenuse or whatever gave them. So that Bard commercial was hilarious. What was that? Was that a year ago already? It was a while ago. So that is that is how they work. So that is why you need to be careful. Beware of plagiarism, because it is taking stuff that already exists and repurposing it for you. There is, if your content is too similar to something that exists on someone else's site, you could be facing a plagiarism lawsuit. So use it carefully, make sure it's in your voice, make sure it's significantly different from anything out there on the internet. The tool I use for this is called Copy Sentry, which I believe is a totally free tool. It might have a paid option, but you get a lot for it for free with it. So you can copy and paste all of your content, put it into Copy Sentry. It will tell you how unique it is, which again, getting right down into SEO, leading into that, Google prefers unique content. If it sees the same thing splattered across a bunch of different websites, it's going to know that it's not unique. It doesn't have to be word for word. You don't have to copy and paste from one website to another for Google to go, this is basically saying the same thing. Google is getting better and better at identifying similarities. So if content looks similar enough to another piece of content, it's going to go, I don't think so. And it does not like duplicate content. It likes unique content. It likes to promote thought leaders because that is of more value to their users. So that's another thing to be aware of. Generic content, ineffective. I'm going to get into that. The generic content is super vanilla, right? So if you do use an AI tool, make sure that you either train it how to write in your voice, which yes, you can do. It takes a lot of trial and error and going back and forth, but it is possible. So make sure you do that first. Otherwise, you just get stuff that sounds like something off a Wikipedia page, and that's not engaging. No one actually wants to read that. Ineffective content. So content has to have a goal. I think the people who are using AI and copying and pasting content from AI are just creating content for the sake of creating content, which is a waste of time and energy, and that can actually backfire because it's not going to get you results on your website. It's not going to prove to Google or any of the real live people visiting your website that you are an authority in your industry. You are the one they want to work with. So make sure your content is effective and it has a really good call to action. I think this is coming up in a later slide, but you always want to take them to that next step in the buyer journey, whether it's reaching out for a consultation, signing up for your webinar, subscribing to your newsletter, following you on social media, whatever that next step is. Have a really good, well-crafted, powerful call to action. AI is really bad at calls to action. So don't rely on it for that. Definitely make sure that you have a good call to action there. Things AI is good at: outlines, inspiration. I do want to have a little caveat on inspiration / fighting writer's block. I do use it if I know what I want to say. I'm just having trouble getting started. ChatGPT or something like that is a great way to get over that hump because it gives me something to work with. And okay, yeah, now I have an idea and I can get going. I think it's great for that. As far as coming up with topics, again, remember that it works by scraping the internet for existing content and regurgitating it for you. So it is likely to come up with a list of topics that everyone else has already covered. And if you're doing that, it's hard to stand out from the crowd. Certainly from an SEO / keyword perspective, it makes it really hard to stand out. Certainly in searches, it's hard to rank well when you're using the same words and the same phrases that everyone else has already used. You're competing with all of those websites when someone searches for those terms. And if someone else beats you to it, it's going to be really hard to climb to the top. So I always come up with topics by doing my keyword research. I might use, actually my favorite is Answer the Public to come up with ideas, but I always take it to my keyword research tool and make sure that it is actually a good keyword. There's sufficient search volume for it, and there is not a ton of people already using that word. So yes, use it for ideas, but careful. Be careful with that. Organizing information. This is great when people kind of word dump stuff or brain dump stuff into ChatGPT and then go, okay, can you organize this for me into a blog post or an email or whatever it is you need? It's great for that. It can take what you have and organize it and reshuffle it for you. Awesome at doing that. And then writing the boring parts, the lists, the facts, the 3 ways to and 5 reasons to such and such. It's great for that part, but that's not all you need in your blog post or sales content or whatever it is you're writing. You also need a good, engaging story. You need thought leadership. You need something only you can say. You need something that is unique on that topic, that you are the only one or one of the only ones saying about this. So absolutely make sure that you are including a good story, you're including the thought. And again, AI is terrible at writing stories. I've seen the stories it tries to write. It's not good at that yet. So make sure you are a professional at writing the stories and the thought leadership and the call to action. Everything in the middle, the listicles, which are great for SEO, by the way. AI can absolutely write that part, or at the very least come up with, again, the outline for you. How not to use AI writing tools, SEO research. This drives me crazy when people say they are using ChatGPT to do keyword research. It's not an SEO tool. And I have a whole other video, if you've not seen it, all about doing keyword research and how to do it the right way. Again, ChatGPT is going to tell you the keywords everyone else is using. It's not going to tell you the search, is anyone actually using this keyword? They don't have access to that information. And it's likely because scrapes the internet for existing content, it's likely to give you a lot of keywords that everyone is already using, which again means you can't really rank for it. It's too competitive. So always use a good keyword research tool. My favorite is SERPstat, SERPstat.com. That's my favorite keyword research tool. So use that. Don't use ChatGPT or any other AI writing tools as an SEO tool, because that's not what it does. Don't copy and paste. At the very least, fact check it. Make sure it has your brand voice in there. And again, your thought leadership, a good story, and a good call to action. AI writing tools are not SEO tools. I already talked about this, so we can skip this. And that's it. Anyone have any questions? I do also want to say, if you are not familiar with it, a quick shout out to the tool. There, I think it's called ChatGPT Zero or GPT Zero, where you can, and there are a few tools that do this now, but if someone gives you content or you see content somewhere and you think it might be AI generated, you can put it into that tool and it will tell you how much of it was AI generated and how much of it was not AI generated. I have also seen some content creators out there who have started saying at the beginning of their email, newsletter, blog post, whatever it may be, this was 100% human written. This was 90% human written and 10% AI written. I don't know if that's actually legally required yet, but it is an interesting development that we've seen as far as transparency, authenticity, basically doing all you can to gain people's trust and let people know, if you are using AI tools, this is how you're using them, this is how much you're using them, and then this is how much I create. So now I'm done talking. Now you can ask questions. Oh, and I am going to stop the recording. So for any of you watching the recording, you can scan that QR code right there to schedule a meeting with me, or just shoot me an email at that email address, info@avwritingservices.com. Thanks so much, everyone.